What's up guys, Houndish here, and today Bungie have released the first Vidoc for the Final Shape expansion. Of course we've had plenty of reveals for it, so loads of trailers, updates regarding the changes and so on, but today we get a more in-depth look at a bunch of the elements of the expansion. So in this video we're going to do a quick reveal and breakdown for it all. As always, I hope you enjoy this one, and now without further delay, let's get into it. Starting out in the Vidoc right here, we actually get a few words from Tyson Green, the new game director for Destiny 2. I believe this is the first time we've really heard from him outside of something like a TWID since he was given the role of game director. So this is certainly an interesting component as well.
And Tyson, take one marker.
There's a line that emerged in Destiny 1 that wasn't planned for, but is very deliberate by the person who put it in the game, and is very resonant for Destiny players, and resonant for me as a person. And that line is, "Guardians make their own fate."
Some cool cinematic content from back in the day, right here.
That still gives me goosebumps. For me, that has sort of become a touch point for the Destiny story. Again and again, external forces come and try to impose a fate upon you and humanity.
Again and again, indeed.
And again, you show them that they can't do that. We make our own fate.
Soon we're going to show the witness.
It's not just a powerful theme of Destiny, it's also a powerful theme for us as people, as both developers and as humanity. We make our own fate.
I think we're going to get a lot of kind of narrative discussion in this one by the looks of it. This is part one as well.
10 years of story, there's a lot of stuff crammed in there, and there's a lot of things that we could do and could talk about. But as storytellers, the hardest part isn't coming up with the ideas, it's knowing which ones are the important ones.
Bungie teasing us with whiteboard roadmaps again.
Like everything.
We were trying to look for a theme that felt resonant, not just for this story, but for Destiny as a whole. And the theme that we kept coming back to was purpose and fate.
New cinematics
And
right here, I
that's
think.
what this story is about, not just for ourselves as the player, but also for our characters.
I used to think I'd give anything to bring you back.
Ooh, those are our first bits of dialogue from Keith David as Zavala, I believe.
Every time I opened a script, I was like, what would I want to see? What would I want to hear?
You get to see their emotional journey, the struggle of how do we defeat the witness?
With Galahorn.
Let's bring an end to your futile exertions.
The witness sees itself as the one true God. So it's come to the Traveler because it needs the power of the Traveler's light to finish this vision.
Some of these cinematics are absolutely wild.
Why don't you want that?
Be reborn.
Our mission is to make sure that we can prevent it from getting the light, the thing that it needs, in order to make it all happen.
It's finally confronted the Traveler, and here we are, thorns in its side, a blip on its radar, trying to make a difference.
You're gonna speak to the witness, and the witness is gonna shine a light on some things, and you wonder, like, what would it be like? What would it be like to be a disciple of the witness?
Your guardian's use has yet to be determined.
Super creepy Iron Banner stuff.
Need of a god killer.
Every time you hear the witness, you're not just hearing one voice, you're hearing whispers in the background, you're hearing all of these other textures.
You're still resisting.
You can feel a subtext sometimes where the real witness comes through, or at least things that it doesn't want you to know about it come through.
There is only suffering!
Dude, Angry Witness is like pretty terrifying. The cinematics and environment content for Final Shape looks pretty awesome, I gotta say. Look at this.
There were a couple of themes that we had when we started on the Bill Hard. The two main ones that I remember were surreal and shattered to spire. When we were thinking of surreal things, it was a bit of a challenge, because how do you make something
We got
surreal?
some dark blades
For
hanging
me
out.
Is putting familiar
Oh wow,
thing.
Look at that. I thought that was the farm then for a second. It does look a bit like the farm, but there's like the witness head stuff coming out the top. That's absolutely wild.
Out of context. What is the thing when you turn the corner that you are not expecting? So that's when we play with scale.
Dude, that
we
looks
play
cool.
with unexpected things, repetition.
There's this
awesome piece of concept art that is like this massive ghost in the horizon, and you just like go over there and it's just like broken down in the middle, and it's just weird in a way that is unsettling, but at the same time feels very visceral.
Yeah, I've been noticing this in a lot of the trailers, like some of the creepy statues and things like that.
From the game and just trying to find silhouettes and things that will look surreal. And I start replacing all the trees with hands. So all the limbs was made out of fingers coming out and eyes were on the floor. And
That's
I
cool.
do remember our direction was like that, like more hands.
Are there hands holding up the freeway in which
You guys
we
have
were
probably
born?
noticed as well, there are like sections from the early Cosmodrome, by the looks of it, from D1 in here as well, and some sort of darkness stuff mixed in, as well as the hands and the
Yes.
trees and the witness, obviously.
You'll recognize it instantly, and then almost as quickly, you'll realize
Whoa.
you've never been here before.
I definitely feel like there's some aspects of the Pale Heart where like, this is freaking weird and scary. I want to take that risk. I want to push a little bit of what expectations of a destination can be, and I hope that players love that.
I love how some
As
of it
players
is just
progress,
straight up
they get to
trippy
see
as well.
more influence of the Witness, not just on the Traveler, but also on the races that it's interacted with that we've seen so far.
The Dread are a result of the Witness experimenting with the light.
This is going to be
while
huge
it's
for Final
inside
Shape.
The Pale Heart, it's able to access the light as it's trying to siphon it. It is using that light to create and alter new and different combatants.
We get to spot a few Final Shape weapons in here as well now, which is cool.
Now we have a name for them.
The new Dread units.
The
We're
Dread.
Using a new language, collaborating with narrative. We went through and used this constructed
Oh, wow.
language tool to generate different phrases and figure out like grammar structures and other things.
They have
The
their own
pyramid
language. That's
that
wild.
The new Dread units speak is actually translatable. So players, if they're really interested in figuring out what the pyramid units are saying, could decipher these. Kos yen itget, vaktoku vakad.
It's a legit language. That's awesome.
Are an interesting addition to Destiny because you've never fought anything like them before.
We talked about, oh yeah, they need some big weapons. Like, it needs to look like this thing is serious business. They wanted a bit of a secondary unit on it, so like a 2-in-1. As the sketches were progressing, we were kind of like, oh, this feels like it's sentient. And we just love the idea.
We had all these different sound effects in our library of water bladders that make some really cool sounds when you're shaken. We used some sounds of slapping jello too.
Dude.
So that was kind of the foundation for the husk. We have all these real physical sounds that come together and feels like an alien moving
Oh
around.
man, that's
the
cool.
stomach of this thing.
I really wasn't expecting to get an entire like race of enemies in Final Shape, let alone like a handful. This is pretty cool.
At the end, it comes out better than anybody could have made individually.
There's a moment where you realize, looking at the Final Shape, that it's not just a story about the Guardian's journey. It's also kind of the story of Destiny's journey. It starts in a place of uncertainty and challenge, and then it changes and evolves, and it proceeds forward into the unknown. And as you get closer to the Final Shape, those two experiences converge. We know where we're going, we know where we're aiming for.
I feel very confident about the love and the work and the thoughtfulness that everyone working on this release put into it. And I think it's inevitable that when people start going in and experiencing all these different things that make up this expansion, I think they're gonna see it.
I won't lose another soldier in this war.
I think Keith David's doing a pretty good job with the Zavala voice lines right there. That space as well looks absolutely awesome. I feel like Bungie are definitely... They're pulling out all the stops on this one, like in terms of like the cinematic component and the story content. Potentially, you know, based on the little teasers, the little bits we're getting, it may actually really deliver. I'm really hopeful for that. Obviously, it's a huge moment in terms of the story for the game. So, what do you guys think, man? Really cool Vidoc. Obviously, with something like this, the devs need to do the majority of their talking because they're kind of laying the background for a lot of what the Final Shape is right? And how Bungie are thinking about that expansion. So cool Vidoc, but as we saw, this is only part 1 of the Vidoc. So there will be another part that will probably get even more into like the gameplay components. But in terms of how it's looking so far, especially the destination, the cinematic content, and the potential for the story there, as well as obviously the gameplay stuff with Prismatic and new enemies, I think it's looking pretty good at the minute. But guys, let us know what you think down below. There we go for the quick Vidoc reveal response. What do they call it? Reaction. That's how they normally do it, right? I figured this might be a good way to try and tackle Vidoc content. Bungie love teasing with those whiteboard roadmaps, don't they? Share your thoughts in the comments, guys, if you've enjoyed the video. A rating really does help us out on the channel. But otherwise, I will catch you guys very soon.